It was a chilly fall night as Jennifer left her office, the only bright spot in a town lost in darkness. She grabbed her backpack and began to move quickly toward her car. Jennifer always felt a little tense in the dark, especially when she was alone. She could hear rustles in the woods that surrounded her office, and it always made her nervous. This evening she felt someone watching her, and she turned to see what kind of shadow was lurking behind the tree. But there was no one there. She pretended nothing had happened and continued moving faster, but then she heard the sound of footsteps approaching her from behind. Jennifer started to run, but she was caught. Hands squeezed her shoulders hard, and she heard a whisper in her ear, "You are mine." She felt her body begin to tremble as she realized she had fallen into the clutches of a maniac. Her captor was a tall, masked man dragging her deeper into the woods. Her heart raced as she realized that she was powerless to resist him. He threw her to the ground and began forcibly removing her clothes, and she screamed, praying that someone would hear her screams. He raped her for hours until she lost consciousness. When she awoke, she was lying on the ground alone, completely immobile. It seemed like a long time before she could get up and try to find a way out. She had been wandering for hours, struggling to move through the dark and ominous forest. She was completely lost. Her body was scarred and exhausted, and her mind was on the verge of breaking down. Finally, she saw lights in the distance, and she realized that this might be her salvation. She began to run toward the lights, falling and stumbling at every step. But as she approached the source of the light, she saw that it was an old abandoned house. She knocked on the door and shouted, but no one answered. She felt her strength leave her as she began to circle the building in search of an exit. But then she heard the sound of screaming from inside the house, and she knew there were other victims. She felt she had no choice but to take her chances and go inside. She opened the door and saw a horrible picture. There were people in the room bound and frozen in terror. Blood was everywhere, and strange symbols were engraved on the walls. Jennifer realized that her captor was not alone, and she was just one of many victims. She rushed toward the door, but it was blocked from the outside. She was trapped in the midst of terror and hopelessness. She heard footsteps in the hallway, and she knew that her life was in great danger. What had happened to Jennifer in this house of terror? Was she saved, or was she just another victim of this madness? No one knew what had happened to her, and this house remained abandoned and sinister, hiding horrible secrets and secret victims within its walls.